You finally hit six figures. You thought this was the finish line, the moment the money stress would finally disappear. But instead, your bank account looks exactly the same as when you were making 50. Welcome to the $100,000 trap, and today, we're breaking down why earning more is actually making you more broke. My name is Ely, and I spend way too much time thinking about how people in the US experience money psychologically. If you're someone who earns a normal income, maybe even more than you used to, but still doesn't feel financially secure, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Because what I'm about to walk through is something almost nobody in the personal finance space talks about honestly. And once you see it, you genuinely cannot unsee it. Let's start with some math, because the math is where the first uncomfortable truth lies. The median household income in the United States is around $74,000 a year, according to the US Census Bureau. Now, a lot of people hear that number and think, okay, if I could just get above that, if I could get to $80,000, $90,000, $100,000, then things would feel different. Then I'd feel stable. The problem is that feeling of stability keeps moving. It moves every single time the income goes up, and most people never stop to ask why. Here's the thing. A Federal Reserve report from 2023 found that 37% of American adults would struggle to cover an unexpected $400 expense. Not $4,000. Not $40,000. $400. And what's quietly alarming about that number is who's included in it. It's not just people earning minimum wage. It includes people earning $60,000, $70,000, even six figures in certain cities, because the problem isn't only the number on the paycheck. It's what happens to that number between the direct deposit and the end of the month. So let's actually walk through what $100,000 looks like in real life for a single person living in, say, Austin, Texas, or Atlanta, Georgia, or Columbus, Ohio. Not New York, not San Francisco, just a regular mid-sized American city. $100,000 a year sounds enormous until you start doing the math. After federal and state taxes, you're looking at roughly $72,000 to $75,000 in take-home pay, depending on the state. That's about $6,000 to $6,200 a month. Now let's be real about what that $6,200 has to absorb. Rent on a decent one-bedroom apartment in a mid-tier US city right now is running between $1,400 and $1,900 a month. Car payment on a used vehicle, not new, used, is averaging around $530 a month according to Experian's 2023 auto finance data. Car insurance on top of that is another $150 to $200. Groceries for one person, done reasonably, runs $400 to $500 a month. Health insurance, even if part of it is employer subsidized, still costs the average American employee around $150 to $300 a month in premiums. Then there's utilities, internet, a phone bill, maybe a gym membership, maybe student loans. And suddenly that $6,200 is down to $1,200 or $1,500 before anything fun, before any savings, before any emergency, before a single thing goes wrong. This is where it gets interesting. Because at this point in the conversation, most people nod along and say, yeah, cost of living is just high. And that's partially true. But that explanation, while real, actually lets us off the hook too easily. Because cost of living rising doesn't fully explain why people who get raises, who earn promotions, who finally cross thresholds they've been chasing for years, still feel the same level of financial anxiety they felt before. The math gets a little better, but the feeling doesn't change. And that gap between the math and the feeling is the whole point of this video. Psychologists call it the hedonic treadmill, and it is ruthlessly efficient at keeping people financially stuck without them ever realizing it. The basic idea is this. Human beings are wired to return to a relatively stable baseline level of emotional satisfaction regardless of what happens to them. Win the lottery? Initial high, then back to baseline. Get a raise? Initial relief, then back to the same anxiety. Move into a nicer apartment? Initial excitement, then back to wanting something slightly nicer. The brain adapts. It always adapts. And the financial consequence of that adaptation is that spending almost always grows to meet income, sometimes faster than income grows. Now you might be thinking, okay, but that's just about people making bad choices. I'm smarter than that. And here's what most people don't realize. This isn't about intelligence. This isn't about discipline in the way most finance content presents it. The hedonic treadmill isn't a character flaw. It's a feature of human cognition. It helped our ancestors survive. The problem is that it's operating in a modern economy designed specifically to exploit it. Think about what happens when someone gets a $15,000 raise. The first instinct, and this is deeply human, not stupid, is to feel like there's finally room to breathe. So maybe they move into a slightly nicer place. Maybe they lease instead of buy their next car. Maybe they start eating out a bit more because they've been grinding and they deserve something. Maybe they start dressing slightly better because their job now has higher stakes. Each of those decisions, individually, is reasonable, even justifiable. But together they silently consume the entire raise before it ever had a chance to build anything. Lifestyle inflation isn't a series of reckless choices. It's a series of completely rational feeling choices that add up to a trap. And the trap has a name. Economists call it lifestyle creep, and it is the single most underestimated financial force in middle-class American life. The Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey consistently shows that as income goes up, discretionary spending rises proportionally, and in many income brackets, it rises faster than income does, which means the delta between what people earn and what they actually save doesn't get bigger as they earn more. It often stays exactly the same or gets smaller. Here's the thing about that pattern. It's not just financial. It's deeply psychological, and it's connected to something called social comparison theory. Leon Festinger, a social psychologist, identified in the 1950s that human beings have a natural drive to evaluate their own worth and success by comparing themselves to others around them. And in 1950, that meant your neighborhood, your coworkers, your family. The comparison pool was small and local. In 2024, the comparison pool is everyone on the internet, filtered through an algorithm that specifically shows the most aspirational, most expensive, most curated version of other people's lives. And that algorithm doesn't care about your financial health. The American Psychological Association has consistently reported that money is the leading source of stress for Americans, above work, above health, above relationships. And the striking part of that data isn't that low-income people are stressed about money. Of course they are. The striking part is that the stress doesn't drop significantly until household income gets well above $100,000. And even then, for people living in high cost of living areas or carrying significant debt, the stress often persists anyway. What people are chasing isn't just more money. They're chasing a feeling of safety. And the cruel irony is that the behavior pattern most people use to chase that safety, spend more as you earn more, is exactly what prevents the feeling from ever arriving. Now let's talk about the psychological concept that I think explains more about American financial behavior than almost anything else: the scarcity mindset. Princeton economist Sindel Mullainathan and Harvard psychologist Eldar Shaffer spent years researching this, and what they found is genuinely unsettling. When people feel financially scarce, when they feel like there's not enough, their cognitive bandwidth literally decreases. The mental load of managing financial stress consumes working memory the same way a background app drains a phone battery. And the result is that people make worse financial decisions precisely when they most need to make good ones. They take out payday loans with 400% interest rates not because they're bad at math, but because the cognitive weight of the immediate problem crowds out the ability to see the long-term cost clearly. But here's where it connects back to the $100,000 earner. You don't need to be broke to feel scarce. Scarcity is a feeling, not just a fact. And when someone has a mortgage, 2 car payments, a childcare bill, student loans, and a credit card balance that never quite hits zero, even on $100,000 a year, that person is experiencing the psychological weight of scarcity. The anxiety is real. The cognitive drain is real. And it means that even people earning above average incomes are making decisions under conditions of financial stress, not security. Think of it like this. Imagine trying to fill a bathtub. The water coming in is your salary. But there are 5 drains open at the bottom: rent, car, debt, insurance, lifestyle. If you only slightly increase the water pressure, meaning you get a raise, but don't close any of the drains, the tub never actually fills up. The water level looks the same. The anxiety feels the same. And no amount of additional pressure at the top solves a drain problem at the bottom. So what does actually help? Because this video would be a waste of time if it just diagnosed the problem without offering something concrete on the other side of it. The first thing, and this sounds almost too simple, is to make the gap visible. Most people earning $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 have no clear picture of where every dollar goes in a given month. Not because they're careless, but because the payments are scattered across auto-pay, different bank accounts, credit cards, and apps. The act of writing out every fixed monthly cost in one place, just one list, even on a piece of paper, is psychologically significant. It moves the financial picture from ambient anxiety into concrete information. And concrete information, even when it's uncomfortable, is less psychologically taxing than vague dread. The second thing is to automate savings before lifestyle has a chance to absorb a raise. This is old advice, but the psychological reason it works is worth understanding. When money hits a checking account and sits there, the brain categorizes it as available. Available money creates permission, and permission is what lifestyle creep runs on. But when savings are automated, when they move to a separate account before any spending decision happens, the brain recategorizes that money as unavailable. It's already gone. The lifestyle never had access to it, so the lifestyle never adjusted to expect it. The third thing is to intentionally delay the lifestyle response to a raise. Not permanently, just by 90 days. If someone gets a $10,000 annual raise, that's roughly $600 extra per month in take-home pay. If, for 90 days, they treat their lifestyle exactly as if the raise hadn't happened and direct that $600 entirely to savings or debt, two things happen. First, actual financial progress gets made. Second, and more importantly, the person develops evidence that they can live without the extra spending. That evidence is psychologically powerful. It breaks the automatic equation between earning more and spending more. Now you might be thinking, that still sounds like deprivation. That sounds like just never enjoying the money. And that's a fair objection. Here's what most people don't realize. The goal isn't to never spend more as you earn more. The goal is to make that decision consciously rather than automatically. The difference between someone who earns $100,000 and feels broke and someone who earns $100,000 and feels stable often isn't the dollar amount. It's whether their spending increases were chosen or just happened. Chosen increases, even large ones, don't create the same psychological insecurity as passive lifestyle inflation because they don't create the sense of having no control. Control is the keyword. The APA's stress research consistently shows that the perception of control over a stressor significantly reduces its psychological impact, even when the external circumstances stay the same, which means that the same financial situation, same income, same expenses, can feel dramatically different depending on whether the person feels like they have agency over it or whether it just feels like things keep happening to them. A budget isn't a restriction. A real budget, used honestly, is a tool for expanding the feeling of control. And that feeling of control is the closest thing to actual financial security that most people in middle-income America can access right now. Here's the calm, honest truth this video has been building toward. The $100,000 trap isn't really about $100,000. It's about the belief that a number will solve a feeling. And that belief, as understandable as it is, as deeply American as it is what keeps the treadmill moving. The income goes up, the lifestyle adjusts, the anxiety stays, and the goalposts shift to the next number, the next raise, the next threshold that promises to finally feel like enough. Breaking the trap doesn't require earning more. It requires noticing, honestly, that the current strategy, earn more, spend proportionally more, feel the same, isn't working. And then doing the uncomfortable, unsexy, genuinely effective work of closing the drains before trying to increase the water pressure. That's not a glamorous message, but it's the real one. And the people who actually act on it tend to feel more financially stable on $75,000 than they ever did on $120,000. Because stability was never about the number. It was always about the gap between what comes in and what gets to stay. If this hit close to home, subscribe. There's a lot more on the psychology of money coming. And none of it is about stock picks or get-rich-quick strategies. It's about why we feel the way we feel about money and what we can actually do about it.